Welcome to Port Elizabeth, South Africa. This is Andre Guichard from Gallery Guichard, and Francis Guichard and I are here conducting another bridge with South Africa, creating an exchange of culture and also opening many of our eyes, including our own, to the wonders of tourism that South Africa offers in the Eastern Cape in particular. During this journey, we'll invite you to several lectures, one in Port Elizabeth and also one in Mthatha, and we'll also be visiting the Grahamstown Art Festival in search of fine artists in the townships and throughout the Eastern Cape. But as we go on this journey, we ask you to ride along and explore with us and take in the beauties and wonders that South Africa's Eastern Cape has to offer.
And I am an employee of the municipality in trade and export promotion. So you're probably wondering, what does trade and export promotion have to do with art? Well, there's really quite a lot that the two are interlinking, and we want to use this opportunity to share with you some of the greater opportunities in linking art and the work that you do with trade and export opportunities in Chicago. So, as president of Mthatha, who has been doing extensive work in the townships in the Eastern Cape for a number of years, I want you to please put your hands together for Judith Chichan from Mthatha.
Mulwaney. We're delighted you're here. This project started a year and a half ago, and it started by a man by the name of Charles Manuel, who works for DTI in Pretoria. This grew from just 3 organizations getting together and having an event to actually becoming, within 6 weeks, an export project of township fine art from the Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape, into Chicago. And so we brought a ceramic sculptor, Lou Babalo.
People see the vision and the fact that you can do it. But to do it, you can't just think it's just going to happen. And I always call this term taking your product to market. Your product is art.
I see a lot of artists who will take their heart and soul and find new ways of expressing themselves. So they may learn different techniques or use the theme in a different manner in order to express themselves, their heart and soul, their experiences, and be able to create something different and unique.
It's global. You all are global. You have a product that can go global. And guess what? Right now you have a team and associations that are ready to help you go global. Any questions? Because this is kind of like big visionary talk, and it can be a little overwhelming because it's you talking about it. You know, like, oh my God, hell, you talking about me? I just want to do my little thing in my studio. No, 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 no. People see the vision and the fact that you can do it. But to do it, you can't just think it's just going to happen. And I always call this term taking your product to market. Hey, how are you, my friend? So this is your studio.
Yes, this is where I live and work now.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I want to just introduce you to our friends. Please tell them your full name. And
My name is Usen, spelled U-S-E-N, and the surname is Obot, O-B-O-T.
excellent. Well, I'm excited to be here because I have seen a couple of your images at our initial meeting. So today I'm welcoming you all, our friends and collectors, to see what is the incredible work of an extraordinary artist. And let's start with this beautiful abstract here. What do you call this?
The title of this is Dimensions of Time. Lately, my works are focused on socio-political issues. For me, what I'm trying to say here metaphorically is that our society, though we're moving towards one direction, we seem to be living in segments. For example, countries come up with laws to protect themselves, how do you, economically, politically. So there are a lot of boundaries, even though when you look at it, the thread of one problem or one situation in one country, crosses over to affect the other.
And the whirlpool itself seems to repeat itself in some of your work. What is the emphasis, or what are you trying to communicate with the whirlpool?
I had wanted to depict waves. So I think that's how I got to that point. I had wanted to depict in my, in an abstract format, not, like what you traditionally see in other works. But again, when you look at history, I think they call it apart from you call it the whirlpool, they call it the pi sign. You find in every bit of creation. So for me, what I did was it is basically to show the balance that we have in nature, drawing from there to bring it into my work to signify what I should call our major substance in relation to our Creator. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. So for me, it is we are an embodiment of Him that has made it possible for us to exist. So I draw from that because, like I said, if you look at creation, virtual everything. You look at yourself, your thumbprint. You have you have the whirlpool, if you call it like that, But whether scientifically or philosophically, they call it the the pi sign, which is I think PHI. So when you look at that, it goes. You find it even in architecture that dates back to so many centuries that they use it to measure the distance, to calculate. Whether it's in order. They use it to check the dimensions, the distances. In works of architecture.
And what mediums are these?
This is I work mostly in oil and canvas, in oil. Though I dabble into other medium, but for me to create the texture that you see in my work is I can only get that from oil. Acrylic doesn't give you this kind of texture. So, I decided to create some works from that is inspired by the views from my window. So this is one of them that you're seeing here, which is I think it is the biggest. And the title of this one is The Collective. I call it The Collective. The collective metaphorically represents community. If you look at the South African community, if you look at the world, so the buildings each represents, the building represents the race, the individuals, these various cultures within our community that has come together or that has lived together to create what you can see as the Rainbow Nation or the people in South Africa, for example. Now, each of these buildings, just as individuals, all of them are buildings, but some are tall buildings, some are short buildings, or how do you call it? Not that tall or not that high, but each of them are buildings, just like individuals. Then each of the buildings has a purpose. It was designed for a purpose. It has a certain influence, which again, as human beings, we have certain genealogy or histories, and each of the buildings again has the contents of each of them are different, as well as the purposes that they were designed, just like human beings. So for me, when I look at the view from my window, I say look at how the society is.
Port Elizabeth, South Africa at Nelson Mandela University, and I am here with an artist we talked to earlier, but now we're in his studio. And I'd just like to welcome you if you could tell us your name and tell us a little bit about the work that's here today.
Okay, my name is Bamanyele Tungane, and the majority of the work that you see behind you, behind me actually, and yeah, it has to do with something that happened in 2008 where a man was burned to death for being a foreign national, African foreign national, in a place called Ramaphosa. So I dedicated my final year to actually exploring xenophobia and trying to shed light onto the ignorance of Africans who actually were part of the whole attacks and who continue to abuse people who come from other countries in Africa. And so I call the series The Burning Man. And that's a title that I got from a news headline, where they were showing the person who's Alberto Nwambe, but that's his name, 36-year-old father of two from Zimbabwe. And with the title, I try to play with the whole connotations with just the burning man, as we are all, as human beings, we kind of burning in a sense that we, in terms of desires, in terms of frustrations, in terms of all the trials and tribulations that we come across in life. So that's why I chose the title of myself. And I tried to work with charcoal and kind of find my own identity per se, because it's always been a medium that I like to work with. And with this particular piece, I call Miss Liberty in a sense that it is the life that we live now in South Africa, as much as the whole world sees it as being I say a rainbow nation, and it being the dream that we always wanted. There's a lot of people who don't see it that way, and that's where the title comes from, Miss Liberty, M-I-S, Liberty. And I try to show Miss Liberty, M-I-S-S, Liberty, with a distorted figure than that beautiful mythological figure that everybody tends to see her as. And that's how this came about, where as much as she has human qualities, there's also some beastly parts that you see in her, and then there's that whole imbalance with regards to, I don't know what you call the thing that she carries. So I tried to put a rope on one end and the other like dust, or someone else kind of saw it as gold dust or sand, what have you. And that represents time, and it's slipping between our fingers. And then on the other end, that is something that in South Africa is seen as represents the death penalty, which some people still want it to come back because they feel that things are going out of hand, and others like to see it, gone with the past and what have you. So I'm trying to play with that with regards to this piece, and that's basically.
Welcome to Port Elizabeth. We are here with a fine artist who does ceramic relief, and I'm going to have him introduce himself. Tell us your name.
Okay, my name is Mthatha Kwazela. I'm from Mthatha originally, but I moved here this side in 2010 just to further my studies, where I came here to NMU to start my BTech in ceramic design.
What's the name of the university?
Nelson Mandela Metro University.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. Mostly I work with sculpture, but using ceramic design, because I have this background which is in fine art.
Those are beautiful.
Wonderful. I have this background in fine art, where I had a problem with how do I store them, how do I I preserve them, like elongate them, longevity. Where how do I give longevity to my work? Where I realized that with ceramic pieces they could last for even 1,000 years, more than that. So I decided to take this and draw into clay rather than draw onto paper, which I believe that it was something that was done back in the ages where people draw also on stones and a lot of that. And when they were drawing the idea was not only to raise awareness, but was to educate people and be able to tell people that, okay, at certain time, there's this thing that will happen here, so be aware. So my work is trying to raise that awareness, hence I am just focusing on drawing into clay and making this relief. What I've dealt with here, if you can see it, this work, I was dealing with the fact that in New Brighton there's been these squatter camps. It started as a squatter camp. Now the government has been creating these RDP houses, which I felt that if we get rid of those squatter camps and then we tell our children and our grandchildren, they wouldn't understand, or they wouldn't believe that people lived in sheds, in houses that are made of zinc and all of that. So I wanted to capture that. I wanted to capture the life in the red location and that idea of using your environment, start to focus in your own environment. That was the whole idea.
Excellent.
Okay. The way I do it, the way I do it, I first drape ties and then I draw the image that I have. I normally work from my mind, from my own memory, but observation is important at the same time because I go back to observation just to make sure that I get this image that I want to capture. But I then after I've modeled it and then built on it and carved some parts, I then leave it to dry and then fire it to up to 1,000, which is a piece firing, and then have a second firing where I put a wash of oxide, because I also like this naked clay with a charged feeling, because I also bring papers. These are the effects done by the paper. Every time I work, I always think of where I come from, because in the future I want to go back and establish myself where I come from. So I always look for the cheap ways, but more effective, ways that could also be achieved if I stayed there at home. That's what I'm trying to do. But here, I was mainly inspired by this program that I'm running, which is a youth development program where we teach classes to these kids. And I was looking for a thing that what really unites us, because culturally sometimes we are disintegrated in terms of where we live. We are disintegrated, but when it comes to education, hence I brought in this feel of a paper. When it comes to education, we are all integrated, and if we could come to that level. Bum ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum ba ba bum 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 ba ba bum bum bum